been used to draw people in, including the rescue personnel, detonate a second explosive device and create additional havoc. It has profound psychological impact.
And fortunately, it was discovered and apparently defused before it could go off. What does this suggest to you about the sophistication, if you will, of the person or persons behind this?
The fact that there were at least 2 bombs, the fact that they selected the target, the level of lethality in regards to explosive devices indicates that this probably was a rather sophisticated, organized attack.
Okay, we're familiar with the World Trade Center. We're familiar with Beirut. Why Oklahoma City?
I'm troubled by that. I believe it might be a message that the middle of the United States is not inured from terrorism. It may be a wake-up call that we too are going to be subject to acts of terrorism.
Okay. Who is behind this, or is it much too premature to speculate?
It's too early, but it seems from the fingerprints we're getting now that it was a sophisticated group, a group that probably engaged in a surveillance over here, who had some infrastructure in this location. It was a group that planned and unfortunately evidently planned well.
Based on your knowledge of the Murrah building, the site of the explosion, what was the level of security there?
I obviously think it was not secure enough. Clearly, I'd rather not go into the details on that.
Dr. Sloan, thank you for joining us. Dr. Sloan will join us throughout the day. Kelly, Jennifer?
All right, Ken, thanks. One of the things that White House correspondent Rita Braver mentioned this afternoon in her coverage is that it was fortunate that not only that they found that second bomb before it was detonated, but having it will help law enforcement officials as they try to determine who are the people that planted it, where did they get their supplies, where did it come from. So that will be beneficial to them in terms of their investigation.
And the FBI has released some suspect information. We want to get that out to you once again. The 3 people possibly involved in this. 2 of them are described as Middle Eastern men, one 20 to 25 years old, another one 35 to 38 years old. They were both wearing blue pants, black shirts, and coats. The driver was not identified, but the vehicle description is very important, and here it is. A brown Chevy pickup with tinted windows and a bug shield on front, last seen northbound on Walker Avenue here in Oklahoma City. If you have any information about that, please get in contact with the Oklahoma City Police Department or the FBI.
We also are getting word just now from IMSA. IMSA is saying that they have received the medical community put out a plea for anybody, paramedics, nurses, doctors who could get downtown and help. They say they have plenty of people there now. You might contact your local hospital or clinic, whatever, if you want to see if there's some other way you can help. One thing you might want to do if you aren't already down there is to wait, because the people who are there are going to need some relief, and this effort to get these people out of these buildings could go on for hours or days. So if you have not responded already, IMSA is saying thank you so much for everybody's concern, but they have all the medical personnel that they need, and so you might just be on standby where people can get to you and get you information so that you could be available as this drags on, as they work to get these critically injured people out of the building.
Many of the injuries that we're seeing from this, many of the injuries that we saw immediately were from surrounding buildings, because the concussion of this blast was so enormous that it blew windows out. You can see in some of these buildings, some of these shots, look at the buildings in the background, you can see the windows are blown out from the mere concussion of it. Flying glass. We heard a man talking on the phone earlier, said he was sitting in his office, the window blew out and cut him up. He was 2 or 3 blocks away. So there are many people who suffered minor injuries, cuts from flying glass from their own windows. The streets in downtown Oklahoma City are just littered with glass.
Apparently some of the fatalities are going to be from people who were not inside the building, but who were just walking down the street nearby when this bomb went off. And the count that we have right now, and this is very preliminary, this will no doubt change. We have 8 fatalities, 6 of them children. We believe most of the children who have died were inside the daycare center where federal employees who work in this building, many of them have their children.
And the timing of this apparent bombing, 9 o'clock in the morning, most of these federal government buildings open at 8 to 8:30, so they would have been well into their business day, and many members of the public probably already in the building conducting business. Maybe as many as 900 people, they conjecture.
Yeah, according to the fire department, the fire department does sort of, are we looking live now, or are we still on tape?
There's a live
There's
picture.
a live shot. All right, that's the first live picture we've gotten from the front of the building since they moved us back, gosh, before 11 o'clock, I think.
Right. That's looking, that shot is apparently about 2 or 3 blocks from the north and looking back toward the south. That is the front side of what used to be the front side of the Alfred Murrah Federal Building at 5th and Robinson in downtown Oklahoma City, completely sheared off by what was apparently a massive car bomb.
This again happened around 9 o'clock this morning. If you were anywhere in a 60-mile radius of Oklahoma City, you felt it. Up in this part of the city, it rattled the windows. People who were closer were thrown to the floor. Heidi Browning was at the police station, which is about a half a mile, I think maybe a mile from this, and she said the ceiling tiles flew up and debris fell down from the ceiling, and they thought that the building they were in had been hit. And when she got over here, it was just pandemonium. People were running out of the building. The rescue crews were just arriving. They were digging the children out of the rubble of this daycare center, which is on, she told us it was on the first floor on the east side. Unfortunately, on the northeast side of the building, so on the part where the bomb blast was most severe. You can see the biggest crater there. Hopefully the terrorists didn't specifically target the child care center, but despite what their intention was, they sure hit it, and we ended up with 6 fatalities of children that we know about, and we have 6 fatalities. One of them we know confirmed from St. Anthony Hospital.
And all 8 fatalities. And let it also be said, we want to make sure everyone understands that there were many people who got out of the building. Many of them went out on the back side of the building, the south side of the building that you cannot see from here. As you can imagine, they are scrambling down there, trying to get a count on who is okay, who is in the hospital, and who is missing. And as soon as we get a handle on what that is, and the officials get a handle on what that is, we will pass it along to you. But that's the most important question.
If they gave
right
an
now.
count right now, it would be so preliminary that it would be just absolutely wrong. And keep in mind that the total we were given for the number of people who work in this building is just over 500. The fire department says their surveys of usage of buildings indicate to them that there could be more than 900 people inside. So that's 400 people that it's going to be hard to account for, because you don't know who they are. They're people who came in to do business in the Social Security office or one of the other offices inside there. So the task of trying to determine who was in there, first of all, is monumental. Trying to figure out then who got out, who's okay, is going to be really, really difficult. And it could go on, the chief said, for 3 or 4 days.
That's one of the saddest pieces of video that we have seen so far. An Oklahoma City police officer,
Right.
I believe,
Who
holding a
just
child.
volunteered, came over to help.
Might have been, we hope, just injured. We continue. We have crews at the hospitals. We have crews downtown. You saw Gan Matthews downtown. Randy Renner is downtown. Angela Buckaloo is at one of the hospitals. Robin Marsh is downtown. Everyone we've thrown all of our forces at this for obvious reasons. And Newsline 9's Heidi Browning is also, she has returned to the station. She was downtown this morning when it happened, and she is going to join us in just a moment live here from the studio. But right now, let's go to Tammy.
Can you hear me? There we go.
Yes, we
Heidi's
can.
on her way there. I'll quickly pass this along as Heidi gets set up. She has some incredible stories to tell you because she saw so much of this firsthand right after the explosion. She arrived on the scene. We'll go to her in just a moment. First, let me pass along to you. It's an incredible effort in Oklahoma. I mean, the eyes of the nation are on Oklahoma right now after this, and boy, Oklahomans are pulling together. The faculty house located on the grounds of the Health Science Center on the northeast corner of 14th and Lincoln. They are volunteering their facilities for all services other than medical. They are providing food and a rest location for volunteers and victims. Again, that's the Faculty House, Health Science Center, 14th and Lincoln. Also, the Delta Gamma House, they started a blood drive this morning. They can't take any more. The response has been incredible. They say they are at capacity, and they thank those who have dropped by. Now we have Heidi Browning standing by with Jennifer and Kelly in the studio, guys.
All right.
Okay, Tammy, thank you. We have some new information that we want to pass along. A sister station down in Dallas has apparently learned that the suspect vehicle, this brown Chevy pickup, was perhaps rented at DFW Airport in Dallas. We'll continue to follow that for you, but...
Should we give that suspect description while we're on the subject? I don't think we can probably give that enough.
Probably should. Let's go ahead and I'll give that again. We're talking about 3 suspects in this case. 2 of them Middle Eastern men, one 20 to 25 years old, the other one 35 to 38 years old, both with beards and dark hair, both wearing blue pants and black shirts and coats. And the suspect vehicle information, a brown Chevy pickup with tinted windows and a bug shield, last seen northbound on Walker Avenue.
I'm having a hard time getting information on where you should call if you have information on this. Obviously, 911 probably not the place today, Heidi, because it's so tied up with emergency traffic. FBI has been evacuated, so that number apparently is being answered by the OSBI. Here's a place to try, 848-OSBI. If you'll just dial 848-OSBI, and you can perhaps pass your suspect information along to the OSBI, they can get it where it needs to go, and we'll work on trying to get you the best number to call to pass it along.
We want to visit with Heidi in just a moment. Right now, let's go to Newsline 9's Robin Marsh, who's downtown. Robin?
All right, guys, we're here at the Triage Center. We are east of where the building is. If you can just look right back here beside me, there is the front side of the federal building that the explosion took place at 9 o'clock this morning. I was going to talk with some doctors in just a moment. These nurses from this Triage Center, where we were anticipating they were going to be bringing some of the people who were wounded here. We've set up with about probably 300 to 400 volunteers here. And tell me your name and tell me what they've just told you here at this Triage Center.
My name's Joanne McCurley. They just told us that they'd found 80 people and only 2 were alive, and they told us all to go home.
Okay, so this Triage Center then is dismantling, is that correct?
Correct. On this side.
Okay, and who told you this about the people who were inside? Who did you get this word from?
The guy in charge of the nurses.
All right, so these other people that are inside, these are casualties then? Is this what you're hearing?
That's my understanding.
All right, this not confirmed yet by TV9, but what we're hearing at this Triage Center, a very grim picture as we've been anticipating. We know that we saw 2 men coming out earlier on some pictures. I don't know exactly when that was. So this Triage Center here on the east side, which was the second one, we know that there was a Triage Center where they were treating people who were coming out earlier that was actually closer to the building. This Triage Center then dismantling. We've got about 400 volunteers here, about 20 ambulances behind me, and at this point we had seen no activity here. They did not bring anyone here, so that's the scene. I'm going to try to get some more information on this of what these nurses are telling me, and then I'll get back to you guys in a little bit.
Okay, Robin, thank you. That is terrible news and what we were hoping we would not hear. Newsline 9's Heidi Browning has been downtown Oklahoma City. Well, you were downtown when this happened.
I am not surprised to hear that the casualties may be that high. The building, when I got there this morning, again, as I've been telling you, it was pandemonium. There were people coming out in all different stages of being injured. We have some videos that we took from down there. This is obviously what's left of the building. The north side suffered the most damage, and the very early stages, people were trying to help each other. Those that could get out got out. Many were helping others who were injured. And as people started coming out of the building, it was just a sense of unbelief. No one could believe that this was happening. I found myself sort of in a daze myself when I first got there. I got there within a few minutes of the explosion, and I was on the north side, and it was pitch black. There was smoke everywhere. There was a small apartment building right next door, and they were carrying a bloody, wounded man out of that apartment building. As I got there, emergency crews were just arriving on the scene at the time, and there was a huge fire burning on the north side of the building. I couldn't even tell for sure which building was on fire.
Heidi, when you got there, was there much activity inside? Were there people coming out of the building?
When I first arrived there on the north side, there were mostly people working, trying to get people out, and there was a lot of smoke. When I went around to the south side, that's where I started to see people. They were sitting on the curb, as you see here. The emergency crews, as they arrived, were setting up a triage unit, and they were attending to people the best they could. Some people had minor injuries. Other people were covered in blood and trying to, their coworkers were helping them down. As more and more emergency officials arrived, they started calling for more
resources.
Right. I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. They were looking for more life-saving equipment to take into the building. They were talking about oxygen tents and things to intubate. And so I think that's when they were starting to realize the severity. I talked to one IMSA worker as he ran by, and I said, "What's it like in there?" And he said, "I have never seen anything like this."
Because just the force of this blast, and yeah, I mean, this is the kind of thing that everybody drills for, but you can only plan for so much, and then when it happens, it just is always going to be way beyond what you've even imagined.
Talking to some of the people who were in the building as they made their way down, some of them said they couldn't be sure if the explosion seemed to come from below them or above them. All of a sudden, they were knocked out of their chairs or they were knocked to the floor, and a hole opened in the middle of the floor that they were on. Debris was flying everywhere. Some of the people who made it down who were not injured, who were not bleeding, were completely covered in gray ash from smoke or the debris that had rained down. And again, the tragedy of the daycare, apparently an entire floor collapsed in on those children. We talked to some people who were working in the area who happened to be there right as the explosion occurred. They were just civilians. They were put into work. Somebody said, "We need your help." They got plastic gloves on and they ran in. They found themselves in the nursery, and they said that they were actually digging through debris to try to find children to pull them out, and what they found was obviously horrible, horrible scene. I know they said they also saw a pregnant woman who apparently was killed.
Action News has the very latest on the explosion in Oklahoma City of the Murrah Federal Building in downtown Oklahoma City. ATF agents think this blast was caused by a car packed with 1,200 pounds of explosives. The FBI is looking for 3 men. 2 appear to be of Middle Eastern descent. One is between the ages of 20 and 25, the other between 35 and 38. There is a third man, but no details on him have been released. 8 people have been killed. That is a confirmed number. 6 are children. 200 others have been injured, and hundreds are still trapped in the rubble. And there are many who are missing. We will continue to monitor what's going on in Oklahoma City right after this.
Tell me honestly about the drugs.
Yeah, I was on crack.
I can't help it. Why don't you throw that crack pipe out your window?
Moms and daughters fight a personal war on drugs. Next, Geraldo.
Today at 3 p.m. on Channel 2.
Introducing the Comfort Collection. Sofas and chairs stuffed with so much comfort, you may want to settle in till next spring. A comfortably priced Comfort Collection. One more reason everyone's at home with Ethan Allen. Come in and see what's on sale.
You just keep a safe distance.
One mother lives in fear.
Not measles, not chickenpox, AIDS.
Another lives with hope.
Just as soon as they find the cure, we're ordering one of those monster sundaes. It's a good plan.
And 2 boys live to make one summer last a lifetime.
I've never seen anyone look like this before. My mom sure doesn't.
These aren't moms, these are women.
The Cure, rated PG-13, starts Friday at a theater near you.
The new Buns of Steel Babes Amazing Assets on ET.
And live at some of the news that's being broadcast from our sister station in Oklahoma City. You're seeing actually what was taped earlier when a massive explosion tore off the front of the federal building. We are monitoring developments there as people are being rescued. We have the very latest word, 19 people killed, and that word comes from the Associated Press. 17 children are also part of that number. Now, you may be surprised to hear that children are involved, but a daycare center was inside that building, which also housed Social Security offices, office of the ATF, the Veteran Affairs, and a Federal Employment Credit Union, also military training recruiting office. The president is expected to make a statement. Action News will, of course, bring you the very latest on that. Again, you are looking at some of the earlier tape that was taken in Oklahoma City in the early hours of this breaking story. You will see some disturbing pictures because there were so many injuries of persons who were working inside. About 900 people were working inside. 200 have been injured. There are so many hundreds who are missing and believed to be trapped. In fact, there was one revelation that a number of people had been discovered, but many of them had not survived. Heavy equipment is now being brought into the area to help with the debris and the removal of the heavier pieces of that building. We are going to take you back live right now to coverage from our sister station.
Right where the child care center was located, wasn't it? Right there on the first floor?
Right, I've been told on the first floor on that side of the building, and I had one police officer describe it to me as if a giant claw had gone down the front of the building and then once it reached the ground, pulled out away from the building because there was crater damage in front of the building, as well as you can obviously see, the entire north part of the building.
So my assumption is going to be if the car was there, it blew out the bottom supports and that part of the building just collapsed right there where you can see the indentation.
Right.
How much concern was there down on the scene, Heidi, about what is still standing, falling?
I don't think that was really a concern, not with the people, not with the victims that I found. The emergency crews were definitely going in there.
Regardless?
Yes, gangbusters, and some were reluctant to leave even when we were told to back up and to back up and to back up. I don't believe, again, I was on, for the majority of the morning, I was on the other side, which did not have this kind of damage, and so people were going in that side, going up trying to find people. They came at one point and unloaded an ambulance full of backboards. They just started unloading the boards to put people on to go into the building, and they continually were going in trying to bring people out. And we saw dozens of people being brought out of the building.
We probably can't say enough about the dedication of the paramedics and the firefighters and police officers who are going in there despite the danger of collapses.
And volunteers.
Right.
Again, some of the people who helped bring children out were just people on the street.
Okay, Heidi Browning, we'll be talking more with her in just a moment. Right now, let's go to Newsline 9's Robin Marsh downtown.
Yes, we're back here at the Triad Center with Dr. Bob Bomingen, and he was here, ironically enough, to speak to medical students at OU. He's from Oregon, just flew in last night, and now he's heading up the Triad Center here today. The word is from down the street, as far as survivors, tell me what you're hearing and basically how this Triad Center is going to be changing over into basically a morgue.
Basically, I arrived on the scene about 30 minutes via the ambulance. I was at OU, and there was a strong odor of propane, and on extricating some of the survivors from the building at the time, Robin, a second bomb device was located, and immediately all the medical personnel and ambulance personnel were moved from the area. The whole side of the building was totally gone, and there was body parts all over. Apparently the building collapsed totally within about an hour ago. Dr. Brown just related the fact that there's only 2 survivors that were in the building. The rest are felt to be casualties, and it's going to be a long process as far as extricating any other people out of that building, probably for the next 24 or 36 hours.
Where will you take those bodies?
Those bodies will be triaged through this mobile triage area. Every person, alive or dead, will come through here and will be identified as such.
So if the count is that high, possibly, what, 60 or 70? Is that what your impression is, or do you know?
Ma'am, I don't have the slightest idea.
Building
Dr.
I said it'd be hard to tell, but I would imagine somewhere in that vicinity.
So as far as the nurses and medical centers that are here, a lot of them have already left. The ambulances even leaving. So basically this triage center is going to be a morgue, and we'll just be here throughout the day monitoring it.
Robin, we would like, if you can hold on to your doctor, we want to clarify one point with him in just a moment, but first we need to pass along some information.
There is apparently a report that a third explosive device, another bomb, we don't know if it's 3 or 4, but perhaps another bomb has been found inside that federal building. They are moving everyone back once again. This would be the 4th time that this has happened.
This has happened. One question we have, Robin, if you're still there and if you've still got your doctor there with you.
Hang on a moment. Yes, here.
Please clarify for us, when he talks about there only being 2 survivors, that's of the people we know were trapped in there, right?
Dr. Bob, let me ask you, we need to clarify about 2 survivors. Is this after the initial people came out, or 2 survivors that they did find once they started going inside the building?
Once they started going inside, I was at the site, and the 2 survivors were brought out at that point prior to the finding of the second bomb device. And at that point, everything was totally demobilized from that area. All personnel were removed.
the people who made it out initially after the first blast?
The people who initially made it out, there's multiple injured victims, and I would say probably within the first hour they were mobilized out of the area.
How do you go about the process of trying to identify people if they were in a state of what you described to us earlier?
I think the Red Cross in Oklahoma City is going to be taking care of that, and if there's concern about survivors, they should communicate with Red Cross. They're probably going to be the center for that.
All right, thank you, Dr. Bob, for being here with us. We'll go back to you guys.
Well, Heidi, I'm, to tell you the truth, a little confused about what we're finding, because we had some report that there were a bunch of people trapped in there that they could talk to. Now we're hearing that anybody that's alive has been taken out.
It's possible that once we were all pushed back and running, that people were still making their way out of the building. Because again, I know there were people that I could see shortly before we had to evacuate the scene. So when they're talking about only 2 survivors, I believe that means once they went back in. Yes, we know of a lot of people who did get out of the building.
Certainly do.
And in various stages of being injured.
Okay. Heidi, thanks very much. Right now, as I understand it, from down in Dallas, we have Newsline 9's Mitch Jelniker on the phone, who is with Oklahoma's congressional delegation, most of our congressional delegation, which is there for a base closure commission meeting. Mitch, can you hear us?
Yes, Kelly, I sure can.
What's the reaction from our congressional delegation? Obviously, they're shocked.
Kelly, they are indeed very, very shocked, and the only thing they were able to do today is be able to testify early on in the base closure process. They told the commissioners, and the commissioners were very saddened by this, and they let them testify early, and they raced here to the airport. I'm standing here with Senator J.C. Watts, also Senator Nichols, and also with Congressman Frank Lucas, all of us waiting to get a flight out of here. We can't get out because of severe weather. I've got J.C. Watts standing by, and J.C., this is obviously very devastating. I know you were very shocked earlier today.
Mitch, it is devastating. It's very angering. It's disappointing. It's devastating, and not a good time in the state of Oklahoma, nor for America when these type of tragedies happen.
As we find out who may have done this, what should be done to them?
Well, Mitch, I think this speaks very loudly for capital punishment. I think these type of situations, I think they warrant it. I think this country and the state of Oklahoma needs to consider that and where we stand on the capital punishment issue, and I think they need to be punished to the full degree of the law.
Any words of wisdom for Oklahomans? We find even people here in Dallas who don't even know anyone in Oklahoma are very, very saddened by all this.
Well, it's definitely had. I was in the airport and when I flew in, and then now we're flying out, and I tell you what, it's had people here in the airport just captured and just isolated glued to the TV sets, and this is not a good day for any citizen of the United States, because the people in Texas and around the country, they understand this could happen to their federal building. So, again, I'm very supportive of doing what we must do to apprehend the people that's responsible for this, and bring them, do what we need to do to take care of them.
Okay, J.C. Watts, thank you for your comments. We'll get back to phone calls. Kelly, that's the situation here. J.C. Watts, Senator Nichols, also Frank Lucas, all of us waiting to get the plane out of here because of severe weather, and they've concluded their comments before the Base Closure Commission. Back to you.
All right, Mitch, thank you.
We do have some good news to report, thankfully. At Baptist Hospital, we told you earlier, 2 twin boys were taken there, had been injured in this blast, but not seriously. They're in good shape, and they are now asking for their mother. Their names are Don and Ryan. They're twins, and their mother's name is Rochelle Hammond. So, Rochelle, if you're out there, your boys are at Baptist Hospital. They're in good shape, and we're glad to report that, so you can get in touch with Baptist Hospital and go get them.
You bet. That's good news that they're not badly hurt. We are at this point, we're being told 17 people have been
17 children.
17 children have been killed. 19 people total. 17 of them children in the blast that hit the Alfred Murrah building in downtown Oklahoma City today, the federal office building. And we do have reports of lots of folks who got out of that building. If you're still having trouble getting information, the best that we can tell you to do is to hang tight. If you have a loved one who's in a hospital and injured, they will phone you. And they are asking that you not try to phone the hospitals or go to the hospitals if you can, unless it's an immediate family member, because of all the congestion. And obviously, the more people and cars they have around the hospitals, the more difficult it is for them to get ambulances in and out and that sort of thing. So the best advice that they're giving us to give to you is to stay at home, buy your phone, keep your phone free so that they can phone you.
By all accounts, this was not a natural disaster. They are treating this as an act of terrorism, a car bombing. We do have some suspect information. This is video from a little bit earlier where crews were trying to get in to rescue anyone who might be trapped and still alive inside that federal building in downtown Oklahoma City. But witnesses on the scene report seeing two Middle Eastern men, 20 to 25 years old, one of them, the other one 35 to 38 years old, both with beards and dark hair, both wearing blue pants, black shirts, and coats. And then there was a third driving the vehicle. They did not get a description on him, but the vehicle is described as a brown Chevy pickup with tinted windows and a bug shield. We have also heard from our sister station, KDFW, down in Dallas, that it's very possible that that vehicle was rented from DFW Airport. Suspect information there. Hope they can find out something about that. We continue to monitor what's going on with the situation with Associated Press, but primarily our information is coming from our reporters in downtown Oklahoma City. We have many reporters down there. Ranger 9 has effectively been removed from this story because right now, at least, there is a 5-mile restriction on where helicopters can fly around this building for obvious reasons, and a 6,500-foot ceiling. So we're trying to keep Ranger 9 back out of the area so the rescue crews can do what they need to do there. And the rescue...
And you're now watching Action News at noon.
Terror in Oklahoma City as a bomb rips through a federal building. Several hundred are hurt, more than 70 people believed killed in this morning blast. Victims, emergency workers, and the media are forced to flee when a second explosive device is found. This could be the source of the blast you're looking at, a car bomb at the center of the carnage. We now want to take you to live coverage of the terror in Oklahoma City, next right here on Action News at noon.
One of the things, inside this building, there were a number of federal agencies housed. There was, for example, the ATF Field Office, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, also the Secret Service. We were told early on, we had a report from the ATF Field Office, I believe in Fort Worth or Dallas, that there were 2 people inside the building, either trapped or unaccounted for. We're told now that those 2 were unaccounted for. Also, reading off the Associated Press, the governor's office is saying, or actually Representative Ernest Istook is saying that there are 6 Secret Service agents still unaccounted for. And to clarify the suspect description, here's a little bit different information, more information.
Action News now has the very latest on that explosion in Oklahoma City. ATF agents think the blast was caused by a car packed with 1,200 pounds of explosives. Now, one of the workers at the triage center said that rescue workers told them they had found 80 people, only 2 were alive. Security has been tightened, and the search for the 3 men continues. 19 deaths have been confirmed, 17 are children, 78 unconfirmed deaths, and 200 people have been treated at a number of hospitals around the area. Hundreds more are still trapped in the building and missing. FBI agents are looking for, as I said, 3 men. They appear to be of Middle Eastern extraction. They were last seen driving a truck that may have been rented at the Dallas-Fort Worth airport, and that was described to be a brown pickup truck with a bug shield in front of it. Brad?
And as we said, the FBI says that they are looking for 3 males, and they're being sought for that car bombing for questioning. They tell us that at least 2, possibly 3, are of Middle Eastern descent with dark hair and beards. At last check, the devastating blast has killed as many as 78, including 17 children who were in a daycare facility inside that building. At least 200 others suffered injuries, and many more are still trapped inside as this tragedy continues to unfold. The terrified look of a child, an innocent victim of an unimaginable act of violence in downtown Oklahoma City this morning. Wounded, stunned, and dazed Oklahomans wander through the city streets after a bomb literally tears apart the front of a federal building.
Just sitting at my desk working.
That's not it.
Explosion, roof caved in, and started trying to find people that I worked with.
My entire staff of about 7 people was gone.
I thought it was an earthquake because I resided in California for many years, and it was almost like slow motion. I felt a shake and then began shaking more, and I dove under my desk, and then the glass all came in. I think that helped save me. All the glass was gone. It's all over the office.
An unknown number of people are feared dead. Countless others are trapped in the shattered shell of an office where 500 people worked. The force of the explosion could be felt 80 miles away. And just as people began to get their bearings again, more fear rocked the area.
RD, tell us what's happening where they found the second bomb. I was interviewing the man. You saw that. All of a sudden, 200 people start running towards me, and they just get back, get back, get back. They found another bomb.
In the midst of the rubble stands this charred car. Authorities believe the deadly bomb was planted inside, a bomb containing as much as 1,200 pounds of explosives. Hospitals in the city are packed with the wounded. City streets have been transformed into triage centers. And still everywhere, there are people looking for friends, looking for loved ones.
I am so relieved, and I'm praying for all those other people.
A several-block radius around the bomb blast at the Alfred Murrah building was evacuated this morning. The governor has asked all state and federal employees that are not emergency personnel to go home, and experts there in Oklahoma City are saying this was a sophisticated bomb, and they believe it was made by some type of organized group. Beverly?
Well, as you can imagine, federal institutions across the country have been alerted. Federal buildings in Wilmington, Delaware, Boston, and Fort Worth, Texas were evacuated because of bomb threats. And there was a bomb scare right here in Orange County. Our Dave Lopez has a live update from Santa Ana. Dave?
Well, we're happy to point out it was just that, a bomb scare, a cruel hoax indeed, here in the FBI headquarters building on the 4th floor of this building behind me, right on the corner of Flower and Civic Center Drive in Santa Ana. And in light of what happened today in Oklahoma City, once that call came in that there was a bomb in the building, no one took any chances. More than 100 people were evacuated. No one was taking any chances.
One of our attorneys came in and said, "Did you hear what happened in Oklahoma?" I said, "No," and bombing of a federal building. And so as soon as I heard a bomb threat, I'm getting out right then and there.
The call came from a male. Was there a foreign accent?
I can't get into those specifics.
Middle Eastern accent?
Can't get into those
Nothing
specifics.
at all. Are you looking at this as perhaps some kind of wave hitting the country because of what happened in Oklahoma City?
It'd be pure speculation to say there's a connection.
Can you speculate?
No, I'm not going to speculate.
At exactly 11:20, the bomb-sniffing dog left the 4-story building. He had just spent nearly 90 minutes in the building, going over every floor, every nook and cranny. He found nothing.
No reaction from the dog.
No reaction whatsoever. The bomb squad itself, though, didn't go in.
The bomb-sniffing dog went in.
Okay.
With its handler.
Okay, but it's always what procedure to send the dog in before you send them in?
Oh, yeah. So we can find something first. And if there's nothing, no point in calling the bomb squad.
Again, back to the, you're looking at the 4th floor of this building, which is not the federal building. This is where the FBI is housed in Santa Ana. All clear. There was no bomb found at all. No one was injured. Just a lot of, I'm sure, hearts that beat a little faster in light of what happened today. So it's clear here now in Santa Ana. Reporting live, I'm Dave Lopez. Back to you in the studio.
Okay, thank you very much, Dave. And of course, we will take you back to Oklahoma City as live developments warrant, and also if we have the latest coming from the White House. Here in Los Angeles, federal offices are under heavy security. Every package, every person is being checked out. Our Linda Breakstone is live at the federal building in Westwood, and she has more for us. Linda.
Well, extreme caution is the word here. The official word is they are under heightened security here at this federal building and at the one in downtown Los Angeles. Now, what that means is nothing really extraordinary. They have a few extra officers that they hire in. We'll pan back over here and show you the entrance to the federal building. A lot of people there, but those are just people waiting in line for their passports. They are double-checking people as they come in, though. As I said, there is a heightened level of security, all just a lot of caution because what has already occurred. Now, as far as the Sheriff's Department is concerned, the Sheriff's Emergency Operations Bureau Chief, Lieutenant Dennis Bean, told me that they are under a general alert or a tactical alert, same thing. They say they don't move anyone around in those kinds of cases. They just bring everyone's attention to the problem, and of course the news media has done that, but they just make sure all of the sheriff's deputies know to be on the lookout. Now, the West Hollywood Division would respond if anything occurred downtown Los Angeles at the federal building. So far, nothing. They have not moved anyone. So far, all is quiet. Again, just on a general alert. I'm Linda Breakstone reporting live from the federal building in West Los Angeles.
Thank you very much, Linda. Of course, the alert does continue.
A lot of people still on edge today. Well, the Red Cross is appealing for blood to help victims in Oklahoma City. And if you would like to make a donation here in Los Angeles, the blood will go directly to victims in Oklahoma. You can call the LA Red Cross at the number on your screen there, 1-800-974-2113. Once again, to give blood, you can call 1-800-974-2113. As we continue, hundreds are sick as commuters in Japan are once again the target. An update on this latest attack straight ahead at noon.
And law enforcement from around the Southland says farewell to a fallen fellow officer. Continuing our coverage, this is a live report coming from Oklahoma City.
Personnel inside, and they will be bringing...
Action News on KCBS LA is sponsored in part by Midas. Visit your locally owned and operated Midas shop for expert brake repair.
Dear Midas, back in the 70s, I purchased a Midas muffler for my 51 Ford wagon, given to me by my father. When the muffler finally wore out, your mechanic, Miguel Serna, said,
"Well, the warranty's still good."
To my amazement, I was given a brand new muffler at no cost. I plan on keeping my family heirloom for many years. See you folks next time. Sincerely, James Van Dolfsen.
If you get heartburn up to here, what you get isn't just heartburn. It's something different. Doctors call it acid reflux, and you need something different. You need regular Gaviscon. Only Gaviscon forms a protective barrier that helps keep stomach acid down, where it belongs. Mylanta can't do this. Regular Maalox can't do this. Gaviscon is the only medicine you can buy without a prescription that can do this. So, to help relieve acid reflux pain, get Gaviscon. It's different from here, all the way to here.
RTO and Rentronics have changed their names to, ta-da, Central Rental Purchase. Just try saying that fast 3 times in a row. Central Rental Purchase, Central Rental Purchase, Okay, it may not be the catchiest name in the world, but they definitely have the catchiest price policy, the guaranteed lowest rent-to-own prices. And that is something that just rolls off of the tongue, doesn't it?
Get this 3-piece living room for only $17.99 a week, or this complete living room for only $23.99 a week.
So come see us at Central, your new Get It Today store.
Giant Cerritos Ford now has 2.9% financing on all Escorts. 3-door, 4-door, or even this wagon. That's right, 2.9 financing for 48 months. 95 Contour with air conditioning and dual airbags, just $13,490. 95 Ranger Super Cab starting at $10,990. 95 7-passenger Aerostar minivans with automatic and air, only $14,590. Now get factory rebates up to $1,750. That's Cerritos Ford, 605 Freeway, South Street exit Cerritos.
Japan has another gassing on its hands, this time in a railroad station in Yokohama. James Hattori has the latest for you.
It happened around 1 in the afternoon, Japan time. Hundreds of people sickened by a strong smell in Yokohama's main train station and 2 nearby stations. Suddenly, I started choking, this woman says. It smelled like paint thinner or nail polish remover. A military chemical warfare unit was called in to investigate. Officials quickly ruled out sarin, a nerve gas that killed 12 people in last month's Tokyo subway attack, because the symptoms among today's victims don't match. After searching, investigators collected some evidence, but it's not clear what. It seems the odors came from inside the station rather than the train cars. At least one witness saw a suspicious man. He was holding something in his hand, and it smelled as soon as he passed by, she says. Most of today's victims were treated at local hospitals, then released. Meanwhile, Aum Shinrikyo, the religious group which is the prime suspect in last month's Tokyo subway attack, today denied that it was involved in today's incident. James Hattori, CBS News, Tokyo.
And at last count, almost 300 people had been sickened by the fumes.
Meantime, Marlon Brando's daughter Cheyenne was buried today. The 25-year-old was laid to rest on the South Pacific island of Tahiti. Cheyenne Brando hanged herself on Sunday following years of depression. Marlon Brando was not in attendance at the funeral, but her half-brother Miko was there. Cheyenne was buried next to her boyfriend Dag Drolet, who was shot and killed by her half-brother Christian 5 years ago. She had been distraught since Drolet's death. Christian is serving time in prison for that killing. Another well-known grieving father is in a West Los Angeles courtroom this morning. Actor Carroll O'Connor blames Harry Thomas Persegian for the suicide death of his son. Persegian is being arraigned today on drug charges. Our Michael Scott is also at that courthouse in West Los Angeles. Michael, what's happened so far?
Brad, proceedings here at the West LA courthouse got started a little bit after 9 a.m. and things got hot even before the gavel hit with the arrival of Carroll O'Connor to the courthouse. Now, the older O'Connor verbally went after the man he says contributed to the death of his son.
If you're pushing dope, you're pushing a lot of other stuff. You're a sleazeball, and you're a felon. And you're a felon on more than one count.
O'Connor says he's not afraid of being sued by the suspect. In court, it was a clean-cut Harry Persegian hearing the charges against him. His family and girlfriend were also in attendance. Prosecutors wanted to raise his bail to $100,000 instead of the original $15,000. According to them, evidence found at Persegian's apartment shows he's a coke dealer, not just a casual user.
They found running water in the toilet. The toilet water has been ultimately analyzed, and the evidence that will be presented is that there were in excess of 90 grams of cocaine.
Persegian's lawyer disputes the amount